Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of Critical Reasoning. I hope you're staying safe during these difficult times. And so far, you guys are doing a great job from what a little I have seen from some of you, and continue to do an excellent job for yourself, not for me. Let's get after what you need to do for week 2. Now, the assignment says choose a topic, and you're going to write a 1 to 2 page paper on it. Okay? Now, choose anything you like. I would choose one that you would have the most fun, the most interest, the most excitement writing about. And it's completely up to you which one you choose. Having taught this class before, let me show you to avoid certain dangers in writing this paper. Again, not just for me, but this really affects your life in so many ways, and it's called critical thinking. So many people don't understand what critical reasoning, critical thinking actually is. That's what this class is all about. All right? So, moving forward, grading posts. When it comes to your discussion posts, when it comes to your papers, when it comes to all of your assignments, okay, make sure you follow the instructions. So, for instance, with the grading posts, your initial post should at least be a page. Your uh, paper should be 2 pages. Follow the instructions on how long it should be. Include your references. Even on your discussion post, it'd be nice to have at least one reference. On your discussion post, respond to at least 2 of your peers, half a page minimum. And the grading rubric always says, did this student, or ask me, did this student exceed expectations? If you're supposed to write 2 pages, maybe write 2.5 if you want to get an A+. Finally, this is what I'm most interested in. How does any of this affect your life, professionally or personally? You don't have to get too personal with your stuff, but I would like to know, either professionally or personally on some level, this is how this paper I'm writing, or this is how this discussion post I'm writing affects my life, or it can help my life, or help my professional life. For instance, one person said, Todd, I always used to think that when a person came in the hospital, that when they were yelling and screaming and they were very, very upset, that I should, kind of like tell them to calm down. Now that I've taken, critical thinking, which includes that maybe everything I've been doing is wrong, I started to take different approaches. So I started to listen to the person for a little bit, and then I would tell the person I understand how they feel. I didn't say I agree with them, but I just took a different tactic. Because part of critical thinking is maybe what I've done in the past hasn't worked. And it said my patients actually calmed down much more quickly. So that's how they use critical thinking, critical reasoning in their professional life. So just reflect, how could this possibly maybe help me in my professional or personal life? Now, when it comes to your paper, this is the biggest danger, and I see this over and over again. We become victims to the emotional brain. A man by the name of Dr. Drew Weston, he actually did a study on the human brain when people discuss politics. And what he did was he measured the brain through a brain scan. This wasn't, it's undeniable now. That's very hard science, very empirical evidence. So when people discuss politics, even the most educated people, the orbital frontal cortex became very active. The emotional part of the brain became very, very active. And even stuff associated with unpleasant feelings, when people were discussing the political party that they didn't like, they had such an aversion and such a strong negative feeling towards them. Also, he discovered, when people discuss politics, the prefrontal cortex, or the logic center of the brain, became dormant. So, logic, reasoning, reflection, intelligence shut down. It's all emotional. So, when it comes to these topics on your paper, I find that people get very emotional about it, and they just are determined to be right, and all critical reasoning goes out the window. So, when you're writing, make sure you do good research. Don't just go out and cherry pick research that already coincides with your point of view. Remember that Wikipedia is a blog. I go to Wikipedia, but I can't cite it as a research reference. I can't because it's a blog. Now, for instance, let's say I'm writing about Abraham Lincoln. I can go to put Abraham Lincoln in Wikipedia, read, and then go to the bottom of the Wikipedia page, and sure enough, there's all these great references. The encyclopedia, the United States, Department of Education. There's all these great references at the bottom of the Wikipedia page. So Wikipedia is a good source to go to find other references, but don't use Wikipedia as a source. Don't use blogs as a source. Don't use uh, political PACs as a source. What should you use? Universities, research institutions, .govs, the National Institute of Health, the Center for Disease Control, Gallup, medical journals, the World Health Organization. Recognize scientific institutions that have been recognized to look at the facts, or what I like to say, true facts. Okay? We're entitled to our own opinions. We're not entitled to our own facts. Okay? So, use that to write your paper. Okay? Critical thinking. When you're writing your paper and when you're doing your discussion posts, you always need to include this. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm writing about gun violence, if I'm writing about abortion, if I'm writing about, the state of education in the United States, if I'm writing about global warming, of course you're entitled to have your opinion, but I would say back up your opinion with facts. But then in your paper, at one point you say, let me discuss the possibility that I'm wrong. What does the other side say? What is their evidence? What is their argument? And you mention what their argument is, and then you can refute it. Say, this is how I feel about, abortion. I'm not going to tell you how I feel, but let's just say I feel blankety blank about abortion. Okay, I give my opinion. I back it up with medical research, not, blogs and opinion posts, but medical research. And then I say, okay, this is what the other side believes, and this is why they believe it. And here's their evidence. Now let me once again tell you why I think, respectfully, they are wrong and I'm right. You have to consider the other side. You have to consider why you might be wrong in life, regardless of what you're talking about. Discuss the other side. And maybe when it comes to anything, when it comes to the Department of Education or when it comes to gun violence or anything like, is it black and white? If you really believe that, then you're going to have to prove it. Or is it gray? I think most things are gray, but I've been convinced with certain arguments by students that no, this is black and white. This is just the way it is. Okay? There's a movie called St. Judy. I actually know this woman. It's about her. And she is a woman who changed immigration law. Wonderful lady. She's an immigration attorney to this day. It's a great film if you ever want to see it. You're not required to see it, but it's a great film. But she went to a court of law, and she was arguing that women should be considered an oppressed class. Before her case, you could be considered an oppressed class because of your religion or because of your race, but you couldn't be considered an oppressed class in a country simply because you were a woman. And the judge said to her, are you saying that the law is wrong? And Judith Wood said, yes, the law is wrong. It's black and white. I said, oh, okay. In that sense, she was right. It was black and white. And they changed the law. Women are now recognized as an oppressed class, and she was able to save a great deal of women from oppression because of that particular law. So, sometimes it is black and white. Most of the time I think it's gray. But make your case. And also make the case that perhaps maybe you are wrong and discuss that as well. So many people write, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, and here's all the facts that I'm right, and they don't even consider the other side. That's not critical thinking. That's just being stubborn and saying I'm right. Even if you're 1,000% convinced that you're right, you must consider the other side and at least discuss it somewhat. If I can do anything for you in this class, it would be to at least understand, not agree with, but understand the other side. Okay? Now, we are so divided right now. This is why I want you to understand this. The Pew Research Center states that Americans are more divided than perhaps we've ever seen since the Civil War. Americans simply find information they already agree with and cite that and ignore the other. Republicans are watching Fox News, liberals are and Democrats are watching MSNBC, and they're not even considering the other side, and we're very, very divided. Now, this is Senator Ted Kennedy. I'm not saying I'm a fan of his. I'm not saying I like him or don't like him. I'm not saying I agree with him or don't agree with him. The reason I mention Senator Ted Kennedy is because of what he said towards the end of his life. Regardless of whether you like the Kennedys or you hate them, there's no question that Senator Ted Kennedy was maybe the most experienced senator we ever had. He came from the famous Kennedy family. He grew up in politics. His brothers were the president and the attorney general. He was a senator for decades. So he had seen it all, and of course had been involved in scandal, reform. He had great triumphs, he had great failures. This man had more experience as a senator and as a politician in Washington than just about anybody else, regardless of whether you like him or not. There's no denying that. And he was asked, what has changed in Washington? He said, well, number one, Republicans and Democrats used to get along with each other. Said we would argue during the day, and then we would go to dinner with each other at night and laugh about the fact that we disagreed with each other. And we would consider the other side. But he said because so much money and division got into politics, critical reasoning and thinking went out the window. And now Republicans and Democrats truly don't like each other. I mean, he said it's just, this visceral kind of hate. And I never forgot that interview because I thought, okay, maybe that's something that's wrong with a number of folks. And maybe that's something that's wrong, not to be too dramatic about this, with the United States right now, is that we've lost the ability to think. We've lost the ability to listen. We've lost the ability to consider the other side. We can always, of course, disagree with the other side. But maybe we should consider what they're saying and listen. And he was saying towards shortly before his death, that's gone out the window. And that's too bad. So if I teach you anything in this class, consider the other side, how to conduct good research, have different techniques to approach different things in life, not just politics, communication, how you exercise in your relationships and different things, then maybe this would be good. All right, stress. If you are freaked out, if you have something that you need to do to reduce your stress, let me just give you a few pointers here. Half of Americans are suffering an 8 out of 10 stress. If you're not stressed, then you can share this with other folks. I have no financial interest in these companies whatsoever. I'm just letting you know that there are some supplements that actually reduce stress. These are not medications, they're natural supplements. Relora, ashwagandha, there's others as well. According to the National Institute of Health, they reduce cortisol in our system. Cortisol is a stress hormone. You don't have to take these things. You don't have to have your friends take these things if they're stressed out. But what you can say to your friends and what you can do for yourself, do your own research. I did my research. I found that these two things help a little bit. They're natural. You can get them over the counter. I hear omega-3 fish oil is good. Do your own research. Look at what actually reduces cortisol in our system if you or a friend or family member are stressed out. Meditation. I know, touchy-feely. No. UCLA did brain scans on people who meditate. It changes the chemistry of our brain in a positive way. Need to know how to meditate? There it is right there, uclahealth.org. Take a look if you want to do that. Exercise. Oh, Todd, I'm stuck indoors because of Corona. I can't exercise. We can exercise indoors. YouTube videos. Exercising with your friends on Zoom. All kinds of things you can do. National Institute of Health says it reduces cortisol. Also, finally, find a photo of a proud moment. One gentleman said, Todd, I graduated from high school, but I didn't get that photo. He found a photograph of his high school on Google. Another guy said, Todd, it was my birthday party, but I didn't have that moment where we laughed. He took the picture from his birthday cake. It reminds him of that time he was laughing so hard. Here are my photographs. I won't get into what they are, but what I do and what I suggest other people to do is that you look at that photograph when you were proud. You look at that photograph when you were laughing so hard you couldn't even breathe. And you call somebody and you describe those moments. You have that person or that family member you can always call. And then you have them do the same back to you. It's very difficult to stay stressed when you're describing these moments in your life and you're looking at these photographs of your life when you were proud, and when you were just laughing and having a great time. If you have questions, here's my email and my phone number. If I don't respond right away, I'll respond very quickly. Please remind me of which class you're taking because I teach more than one class. Guys, stay safe. Everything's going to be great. You're going to continue to do great. Talk to you soon.